All right, welcome to Big Thinking with Zaid. This episode, we're going to be talking to Jeston. Jeston is a musical prodigy. He used to play piano all his life, and now he's traveling the world, meeting people and organizing events. He's such a beautiful person. You're going to love this episode, and I kept it mostly unedited because he's such a treat to listen to experience. His energy is just contagious, just the positivity in there. And he's in college right now. So if you're in college, this is a good episode to listen to kind of keep an eye out for the transition, how you can, base your vision or your career on where the money's at, which is what you want to do. You want to have dreams, but you also want to ground it in the reality of economics. You're gonna love this episode. Yes, man.
What's up?
What's going on, bro?
Dude, doing good, doing good.
Hell yeah.
Guess what? Guess what?
Tell me.
I got the founder's count as well.
Yeah, if you want to wear the hat, we can do matching. Bro, how's it been in Singapore? You look good.
Ew, it's been awesome. I was chatting with Maxime the other day. I invited him
Yeah, yeah.
for a little dinner, and dude, we had a good time. So appreciate you introducing us.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Maxime is great. He's been in the like building public community for like 2 years now, and I
Mm.
saw him like build his last one from scratch to selling it. It was great.
Was that how you got to know him through Twitter?
Yeah, everybody like I met like I don't see Twitter as like digital friends. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the real
Yeah.
people on the other side. So the way I approach Twitter in general is, hey, this is a cool place where a lot of smart people hang out, and I can meet cool people. And like this whole podcast is just an excuse for me to dig deep, with cool people. Because I did this for like 10 years. This workshop
Mm,
we're about to do, I did it for like strategy reasons, but it wasn't really a strategy workshop because my whole philosophy was the founder identity is key to the spirit and the brand of the company.
mm.
So it feels like therapy, like it's like half therapy, half business strategy workshop, like in one thing. So that's kind of where it came about. But then I stopped doing it, and I was like, I'm really good at it, and great excuse to talk to people online because I don't
Mm.
have a following. I don't have a YouTube like you know audience. So getting on my podcast is not valuable in terms of attention and distribution, but it is valuable because you go deep. you know it's
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
you know what I mean.
No, it's like some people, they record voice memos on their phone, they write journals. Maybe
Mhm.
for you, it's like, having these conversations. It's like having an archive you can just look back on with
It's
these
great.
conversations. And yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's an arc. Like I do learn a lot from the
Mhm.
thing, but I do that, and it's also just a really good excuse to have a deep conversation. you know,
Yes, sir.
it's
Yes, sir.
it's the most fun. Like I'm one of those guys that if you leave me alone at a party, you come back in 30 minutes. We're discussing deep issues. What do you
Like
think of
two
the
people in the corner
world?
of the room and just away
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
party. Yeah.
exactly. So I'm intense like that. Like so this medium is perfect, because it's like what you're getting into, you're gonna be discussing deep things. But yeah, bro, how's life been for you? Like you did the great China adventure, right? The movie.
Yes.
It was great. I didn't expect it to be like a vlog style video. I thought it was just, to be completely honest with you, I thought it was just a musical composition piece with video footage as like background, as like, hey, just look at this beautiful
Mm.
scenery, and then it's just music. It's like purest classical music. So what was your goal with that? Like I thought your goal was music, but apparently it was more to document your trip.
Mm. Yeah, I remember back in November when I was in LA, I was actually on another podcast and I was actually catching up with one of my friends. He runs a really cool podcast. shout out Akash, and
Right.
he asked me what the definition of art was. And
Mm,
then for me, I thought through it, and for me, art is creating something that can last through time, like establishes permanence that is a reflection of my life.
yeah.
So, like the films I create, the music I creates, it's almost kind of what we were discussing earlier, creating a personal archive that you can always look back on for the years and for the decades to come.
Right.
And the Great China Adventure for me, it's like it has been the whole chapter of China back in
Mm,
2025 from February all the way to July. It's been such a monumental part of my life, and a way like for me to honor that chapter, the best way for me is just to put that in the form of arts. And for
right.
me, the purest expression is just through music, combining music, film, and just all the footage I've collected with experiences with other people. Because I think it's also to do with, the memories that you share collectively with the friends that you made along the way. So for me, it's almost like I'm not just doing it to honor myself, but just as a gift for all the people who have just made this chapter so special. So
I love that. So it's more of a not like a public piece, but more for you and the friends you met along the way on that journey.
yeah,
Uh, and it's a good way to. It's beautiful. I love that. The music is great though. Like I was like getting
thank you.
into it. I'm like, hell yeah, because I listen to music a lot when I'm like coding,
Mhm.
especially non-lyrical music. That's for me is
Mhm.
I need that. I don't need it. Like I can code in pure silence. That's beautiful too. Like usually I do 2 cycles in a day, and a
Mhm.
cycle for me is like an attention span unit, right? So like I can focus for 3 hours, 4 hours sometimes. If I go off, sometimes I can go off and I'm like 8 hours, no break.
Mhm.
That's awesome. But 3 hours is almost like a minimum. And I like to do two of those in a day. So the first cycle is usually silence, nothing, just and then the second cycle I like put on a little music, get into it.
Yeah.
So I was like I wanted to put that as one of my cycles, but then you start talking and I'm like, oh my god, this is this is not a musical thing. Uh, so I am looking forward for the Great China Adventure, the musical album,
Yeah, dude,
the,
that's coming out in a few weeks, so
the
you'll be
companion, the
having a good
companion she
time,
said, yeah.
listening to it while you code.
Yeah, the soundtrack. That's what it is.
Yes,
I
yes.
need the soundtrack, uh, because I really think your talent in music. Because I remember we had this conversation once, and you were like, "I don't think music is in my future," and I'm like, "What? What?
Yeah.
Huh? What happened?" So what happened? Why did it change?
Yeah, I mean, to give a bit of backstory, like I grew up, music was my whole life, all the
Yeah.
way up until 18 years old, up until college.
Mhm.
And I started learning piano at the age of 5, got into the whole classical music stuff, did a lot of that, especially throughout high school, competed nationally, internationally, around the country, was
Right.
going around places. And I think for me, music was my whole world, I
Mhm.
didn't know anything outside of it. And it felt pretty clear to me that, okay, I should just do music for the rest of my life because clearly, like, I've gotten a pretty good level of it. I actually enjoy it, unlike most maybe Asian parents who tell you, oh, you gotta learn piano. But for me, like, I innately really enjoyed it. So it made a lot of sense, let's just continue it.
Mhm.
And when I got to university, I realized that, wait, I have these other interests that I haven't fully explored yet that I do want to spend time experimenting, exploring.
Mhm.
And I couldn't see myself committing down just purely professional classical piano for the rest of my life. And I knew I could definitely get to a pretty good level at it, but I was like, dude, there were other interests tugging me, and I felt that it was dishonorable to not see what that pull is and see where that led me. So, the past few
What
years,
is that pull? Where are you pulling? Because I get
Mm,
uh, the need to explore, like
mhm,
the drive to curiosity is one of the most enjoyable phenomenon in life, right?
mhm,
Um, so what are the other things? Is it like completely not music related? Is it like traveling? Is it what is it?
mm. I think there's multiple parts to it, and maybe not. It's not just pull, but also maybe like push forces, more of like things that just have happened in my life where I felt like it wasn't the right path for me. And I think one it grew was like, when you're competing at such a high level, I
Mhm.
think competition can get really cutthroat. And it kind of reached to a point where it's like you're not really competing for the sake of the love for the game. It almost feels like a zero sum game because competitions, there's usually only
Mm.
one winner. It's very hierarchical. You usually compete against the same people and you just try to win over each other. And maybe
Exactly.
while on the surface, like it seemed pretty pure, like, oh, it's just a competition. I felt like eventually it kind of turned south in a way that's now you approach music in a more like whenever you perform, you try to compare yourself with other people. You judge yourself very harshly whenever you play wrong notes. So it got to a point where that kind of negative motivation became more dominant rather than the love of music itself. So I knew at that point I had to step back, at least for a little bit, to really
Mhm.
rekindle that genuine love for music that I had when I was young, and to really reconnect with that, and let the all the buildup of all the comparison, the whole competition thing,
But
put
that's
that aside.
but you compare your like I think the recitation part is the problem
Mm.
here, not the music. Like you playing, a Chopin piece and comparing yourself to everybody who played a Chopin piece
Yeah.
is is kind of where you're beating yourself up from what I'm hearing. But if you're like, I want to make hip hop, my own compositions, like now there's no wrong answer. It's back to pure childlike just wonder, just like, wow, that's a great sound. Can I
Yeah.
make music with it? And you play with the
Mm.
music and whatever, like, and your background being able to play such complex melodies now is almost like second nature. And you can bring that into
Mm.
like a completely new vibe, new this like is that interesting to you or not really?
Yeah, I think there's quite a divide, or not a divide, but quite the contrast between when you're actually composing something that's like deep within yourself versus, learning a Chopin piece and trying to
Yeah.
play that to perfection. Because, I think several key differences. Like one, like you're the one composing it versus you're trying to almost like imitate or trying to
Mhm.
interpret in the way that the prior composer wanted to interpret. So, and I think the nature of competition is like, when judges look for how good a performance is, they try to think in the lens of like, what would Louis Chopin wants
Mhm.
this piece to be interpreted. So it's almost like they're boxing. You get boxed into this,
Mhm.
um, interpretation of how the judges or how someone else wants that piece to be like.
Yeah, the
Whereas
culture
when you
system, their values, the whole thing. Exactly. You're
yeah,
like
it's like when you're
trapped
composing, like
into yeah.
yeah, it's like when you're composing, you have pretty much all the freedom in which you want to express. And in that sense, like it feels existentially way more freeing than having to, almost like perform to a certain set of
Mhm.
criteria that you might not believe to be, fully aligned with the way you want to express arts out into the world.
Yeah. Like just selfishly, right? Like
Mm.
if I had just tons skills playing the piano, right? I would either go on a quest to learn every instrument,
Mhm.
right? Be like, well, now I know the piano. Let me pick up, just go down the list, like all like I'll do 1 year woodwinds, 1 year
Yeah.
strings. Like I'll learn all the pieces. I'd either go down that journey,
Mm.
or I would go down the journey of, hey, all the genres. I'm gonna make a death
Mm.
metal piece. I'm gonna make a rock piece. I'm gonna make a hip hop piece. I'm gonna make an electronic piece, and I'm gonna expand my repertoire like that. And then after the end of that journey, I'm now a more rounded musician or a more creative, unique musician where I can
Mm.
get a career in movie making, for example, like whatever the genre of movie, I can now compose like a soundtrack for it. Or I can be a beat maker or producer, music producer, where like someone wants to sing whatever genre, they hit me up. I come in with my flair and and
Yeah.
do that, so that's selfishly what I would do, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But when I hear you're like, music needs to take a back seat for a while. I need to go travel. I need to do that.
Mm.
I'm like, you can still travel and still pursue. You can still carve a little time out to get on these side quests or expeditions. So that in 10 years times, like you're like mid 20s, right, or like early 20s,
I'm just 20.
just 20.
So yeah,
Beautiful.
20.
So when you're 30, imagine the possibilities of opportunities available to you if you spend 10 years doing things that might not be glamorous during the 10 years,
Mm.
but after the 10 years, it's like almost like you're a magician, you're a wizard, you know? That that is what I find in life. Most people who've made that decision to
Mm.
spend 10 years mastering some esoteric, crazy niche thing, they are the ones that emerge to be the most interesting or valuable because no one's willing to go and invest the 10 years and
Mm.
train their neural network to use AI terms, right? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, s- in those disciplines or in those areas or in that creative journey. So that's why I was very excited when you were like, "I'm gonna do the Great China Adventure. It's gonna be a masterpiece." Well, I thought it was just gonna be like a musical exploration of China.
Mm.
Period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I totally see it. And I think also like backtracking a little bit, like I think there's also nuance to, you know, the whole classical piano stuff as well as the composing. I think there's this really good heuristic on, I think David Perel mentioned this imitate then innovates.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with like a lot of artists, like when they create their own thing out there, it's like you have to master the fundamentals first. So it's like I think when you get to a level where you can just, push ideas out, create arts that seems really intuitive, I think behind that is all the years and years of craft where you're actually
Not
studying the
even no, bro.
greats.
That's what I'm trying to push you
Yeah.
against is you're thinking too much in terms of principles. I made beats when I
Mm.
was in college, bro. Like if like I'll send you a beat or something just to
Yeah.
hear it. But I had zero training. I can't read a musical score. It's not about
Uh-huh.
principles of composition. I think the word composition is also uh the way you interpret it has a lot
Mm.
of embedded outsider meaning to it. And I want you to
Mm.
just think more first principles and just create music. You know what I mean? Like when I was like, it's just the metronome, and then I'm like, this sounds great, maybe, and I quantize it, and then like it sounds great, and then I move the notes, and
Mm.
and it's just a exploration, right? And then you're like, this drum sounds
Mm.
amazing, do 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 do, and you create some rhythm that just comes from you, and it has, like in the Tao Te Ching, right? If you've ever read the book, amazing book, but
Mm.
the the first passage has one of the most powerful meanings in life if you are able to
Mm.
wield it, right? Which is the nameless is the most meaningful. The things you can't name in life, they're supposed to not have names.
Mm.
They're supposed to be indescribable because if you describe them, you limit them. And if you limit them, they become almost meaningless, right? So
Mm.
it's not about learning the principles and learning the names and putting the names and being it's no, it's more about, hey, I just want to play, you know, just want to play with
Mm.
this software. I just want to play with Logic. I just want to play with this musical instrument. I just want to play. Uh, Another cool story for you to think about is there was a poet who wanted to be a master poet, right?
Yeah.
And he goes. Maybe I told you this story before, but he goes
Not
to
yet,
this.
not yet.
Yeah, he goes to this master poet living in a cave. And he's like, I want to be a master poet.
Mm.
And he's like, here's the 50 of the greatest volumes of poetry. go
mm,
memorize all of it. And once you have it memorized, I need you to come here to recite it, and I'll talk to you then. He's like, okay. He goes and he memorizes the
mm,
50 volumes, takes him whatever, 10 years. He comes back to the master poet. He's like, I have memorized all the poetry. And he's like, okay, recite it. And he recites all of it. And he's like, well done. Now go and forget the 50 volumes that you just memorized, right? And then
mm,
same thing. He goes, he's lives life, whatever, tries to forget it, and then comes back. He's like, I forgot. And he's like, now you're a master poet. And that is the kind of
mm.
journey that if I were you selfishly, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
would pursue, because you have that advantage of uh, you know, smart parents who are like, hey, childhood, usually nothing happens. So let me give him the gift of mastering something in childhood. And you went, you
Mm,
competed in whatever, and you became a master. But now it's like almost time to forget all that shit. Forget the names, forget the scales, forget the chords, forget everything, and just you know, it's the forgetting phase.
mm.
Basically, is what
Yeah.
I would.
It's such a paradox, right? Because when you've been trained like to follow a certain thing, it's like you gotta follow this principle, you gotta follow this
Mhm,
principle. But then I love like the way you approach like the essence of creation. I think it's a very pure way. It's
mhm,
just let's just
mhm,
let's just play. Let's just have fun. Let's just try
mhm.
different things. It's almost like to discover yourself, you have to like, or what's that phrase? Like to rediscover yourself, you have to like just unlearn your whole like
Yes.
psyche and just rebuild it from the ground up.
Yeah, and it's a good
Yeah.
vocabulary. Like I tell, like everybody's like, oh, I'm happy I learned a certain vocabulary as a kid, because now I can
Yeah.
analyze it from first principles
Mm,
and find the beauty in it, and maybe just pick the things I like, right? So because you have the training in music,
mm,
right? You can say, well, why is this beautiful? Why is like, and what's nice about vocabulary is it gives you precision. You know how they say the limits of my words are the limits of my world, right? So you being
mm.
able to have 50 names to a melody, you can separate a melody 50 times, where somebody just hears the 50 variations and just calls it a melody, right?
Yeah.
And with your ability to have that kind of zoom lens with your vocabulary, you can be like, I like this kind of melody because it makes me feel this kind of way. And let me test it out with other people. What do they make them feel? And just listen to how they talk to it. And you just now have a bigger tool set to work with, right? And play with. So
Mm,
it's not about, it's just losing the dogma from all of these things that you were judged on, right? Uh, so that's just the selfish part. But like,
mm.
you know, but for you're in this journey now where you had this idea for Musinary, right? Which is kind
Yes.
of like soundtracks for businesses almost. Like, let me create
Yeah.
the soundscape for your business. And it seems like you're kind of wrapping that up and pursuing something else now, or what's the mission?
Yeah. I think for a long time, I wrestled with the idea of like arts versus business, like the whole spectrum.
Mhm,
And, you know, I think for most of my life, I've done arts for purely for art's sake. Like, let me just purely express who I want and in whatever way I want. And I think, you can take different definitions of business, but for me, it's like you're not serving yourself, but you're serving others. Like, how can the thing I create serve others, like in the form of
mhm,
product, in the form of service? So the idea with Visionary was a thought experiment where what if I leveraged arts as a way of service, as a business to help other people? And that was my experimentation. It was like, what if I combined art and business into one? Or should I separate art and business and keep them entirely separate, like do art for art's sake and do business as a whole different track? And that was a big question I was trying to, wrestle with in my head for the longest time. Because I think ever since I started working in startups the past, year and a half, that's purely been on like the analytical side, the operational fronts.
mhm,
You're using like very much your rational brain to create strategy for, marketing, for,
mhm,
anything to help think of things in a more a quantitative manner. Whereas the whole different side of me, it's like the artistic side, if there's not really much rationality thinking, it's more like emotionally oriented.
Mm,
How can you let your emotions guide you? How can you make something that's like reflective of yourself? Whereas how can you provide the most value for other people on the business
mm,
front? So for me, it's like, what if I combine those two together, where I could take like my greatest skill, which is music, and put that in the skill of business. And I tried it for a while, and it was pretty interesting. It's like I think several people were actually quite interested. It's like, oh, we want music for our startup documentary that we're doing, or we have this launch for our new product that we want music to be added into.
mm,
And I mean, those are pretty good. It's like I think in just purely like looking at the demands, I was quite taken aback how a lot of people actually were quite interested in incorporating music into their marketing campaigns. And I
mm,
guess it does have to do a bit with the timing where, especially in 2025, the whole distribution rush, how marketing has suddenly become really important because
mm,
the the execution piece of creating a product has never been lower than ever before with all these no code tools, these AI tools. So getting your product in front of potential users and customers have been more important than ever before, differentiating yourself from other competitors. And my thesis was like, okay, let's make music as the differentiator, where if
mm,
people hear like a really amazing soundtrack, they would be more inclined to follow that brand perception, that brand image. And a lot of people were quite interested in it. But in the end, the reason why I decided to hold it off was because I felt like it was almost diluting the purity of my art, where I would
mm.
have to create art to, you know, conform to someone else's vision. For example, like you have to create a launch video. Maybe that, maybe like the marketing guy is like, oh, I want this video to be like X, Y, and Z, like follow this type of emotion, this type of mood. And it felt a bit boxed where I had to almost like conform to that image. And I realized that I create my best arts when there is no box I have to conform to.
Mm.
Or even if there is a box, like it would be like from my own vision rather than someone else's vision. So there was a bit of disjunct there where I felt like I was dishonoring my artistic side,
Love it.
and I in the end I decided like I don't want to go against that. So I decided
And
to
it's just to
keep it
give.
purely for arts. Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off.
no, you're good.
Uh, but yeah, I love it. Like the purity of it was lost. And in terms of business and service, I like that you're thinking in those directions.
Mm,
But another thing that you need to factor in your equation is TAM, right? Is a market, is an
mm.
actual need, and what people are paying for. You just having a thesis, hey, maybe wouldn't that be cool? The market is more data driven than that. You can see who pays for music,
Mm.
right? And when you look at businesses, they pay stock, stock sounds, pre-licensed. Now there's Suno, right? They can just be
Yeah,
like, so it's like, is that the best audience and market for my art? The answer is probably no, right?
yeah,
Like uh, people pay for art when it comes to music in music, like the music industry, like artists come up with songs,
yeah.
and people buy them or like stream them. And the other secondary market is movie soundtracks, right?
Mm.
Uh, so being innovative and serving those markets where the money is already at is kind of where you need to go with these kinds of ideas. Uh,
Right. Yeah, because the thing with like Midnary, it's like you're almost carving out a new market that might be like a nice to have, but not a need to have. I
yeah,
think,
it's not a market. If there's no
yeah,
demand, it's not a market. If you're doing, like,
yeah, exactly. It's like the design, copywriting. Of course, like we need every business. Like we need good design, good copy.
mm,
Even like cinematography, pretty recently.
mm,
But I think for music, it's more of like, especially as you said, like the tools that we have nowadays at our disposal. With like, you can just buy a subscription for, Epidemic Sound or Music Bed, and just from that alone, you can get over thousands and thousands of already pre-packaged sonic identities you can just plug into your marketing campaign, or you can just use your credits to workshop a AI generated soundtrack from
Beautiful.
Suno. So in that
Yeah.
sense, like you already have budget friendly options that do provide the thing that you're looking for. So it's like for me, it's like another thing is like a big thing was like the market concern. Like to me, to create Musonary with having to be like educating a whole market that doesn't see music as like a very essential thing, maybe compared to like
But that,
copywriting.
but it has
Yeah.
ego embedded in that hypothesis, right? It's
Mhm.
saying that I know what the market wants more than the market knows what it wants,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a failed hypothesis. You know, the market
Right.
knows what it wants because it votes with its money.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Like
Like
seeing where the money flows, right?
exactly. That's all
Yeah.
business is disrupting an existing flow of money. It's saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're using XYZ product. Can you
Mhm.
switch to me? I'll give you reasons to switch." You know, that's
Yeah.
where like Peter Thiel's like order of magnitude. You know, it has to be like 10 times cheaper, 10 times better, right? For you to be
Mhm.
like, "Oh, damn, hell yeah, let's go."
Yeah.
Uh, and but the flow has to exist. It's very hard to create almost a new flow. I think it's almost impossible when you
Mhm.
think about just the history, right? Like when you're like, oh well, computers, but computers replaced word processors, which replaced typewriters, which replaced paper and
Mhm.
pen. You know, like it's you
You got to
can
trace down the lineage, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like these
Exactly. Yeah.
things have always been demanded in the market, right?
Mhm.
It's just they change shape, but it wasn't
Mhm.
completely foreign. Like it's not like
Yeah. It's like a fine line between like inventing an entirely new product or market versus like iterating like a new prototype of something that has kind of the essence where it has already been existed before. I guess with
yeah,
the
it's
computer
just it
example.
doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Like tell
Yeah.
me an example of what you think is a completely new market.
Ooh, like off the top of my head. I mean, I guess like music for startups is like kind of
But
under that.
not something that hasn't worked.
Okay,
Something
okay.
that
Oh, something
is
that has worked.
yeah,
Yeah.
something that has worked.
Hmm. Let's see. I mean, you think of companies like maybe like Airbnb, but I think if maybe you like peel under their history, there is probably some
It's
essence
no,
that was
it's just
already there.
it's a hotel play.
Yeah, the
They've
whole time
all
it's just integrated with their different versions. So,
they innovated in the hotel industry, like in the hotel market, like people who wanted
mm,
to, you know,
mhm.
go
So
somewhere
it's
and
it's
pay.
almost like it may look new on the surface, but it's more like iterating upon like existing demand and within the existing market already.
Yeah,
It's just like
exactly. It's just
introducing new
changing the
formats.
packaging, changing the delivery system, changing the technology,
Yeah.
changing all of that. But the
Mhm.
flow of money has to exist in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's such an important lesson to learn, especially when you're trying to
Yeah.
start something new. It's like you're not starting something that's super, super novel. It's like you have to find an existing market. Because I think people say like market's like so important. Like if you're like
Yes.
creating something in a dying market or a market that doesn't even exist,
Uh,
like chances are like the whole current is against you. You're almost like 99.9% down to fail.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like you, the earlier you learn this lesson, the better. And it's
Mhm.
not like innovation can you still can innovate, right? Like you still
Yeah.
like the iPod was still better than all the music players that came before it.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they just use different technologies, different packaging, different
Mhm.
whatever to deliver a much better product to the market of
Mhm.
people who love listening to music on the go or in their house or store their music somewhere. The iPod was the best. And then the iPhone came and it was a combination of markets, right? There was a music player, a phone, like a web browser, email client, and they put it all in the iPhone, and that was like, whoa, you know. So it's always
Mhm.
you follow and email, for example, is another one of those things where it was so hard. It's still hard to sell email. Like you still
Mhm.
like the only one that kind of can charge money is Proton because of security, and that's such a like a niche product.
Mm,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Like superhuman, I think.
Yeah, Superhuman also got acquired. Like it's not a surviving
Oh
company.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But it also is, like
Right.
sometimes it works. I need to see kind of the numbers to believe that, but uh I don't know if Superhuman was. I'll tell you this story. So Photo
Mm.
AI, Levels IO, Peter Levels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Peter Levels' company, Photo AI. A lot of people look at it and say, this is in the market of photo apps,
Mm.
right? Photo changing apps or something like that, filter apps, you know, like an almost like an Instagram without sharing, right? But
Mm.
that is not the position of the product. If you go on Photo AI's website, the headline is "Fire Your Photographer."
Mm.
So he positioned that piece of technology, that app, in the professional photography space. And people do pay money to get headshots to put on LinkedIn, to put on, professional places on their
Mm.
website, or they will pay money for that. And Peter Level's genius was he found that technology, packaged it up, whatever, and says, hey, you don't need to go to a photographer's studio and wear a suit and do all of that. You can just in your house take a bunch of pictures and now you have a professional headshot.
Mm.
That was the genius positioning of. That's the art of positioning. How do you position your product in a market to make money, right? And disrupt the cash flow there, right? So
Mm. Interesting.
so that's like another angle of looking at it is like sometimes you do have the new idea and the way you sell it just hasn't no market because you're selling it wrong. But if you position it correctly, you can unlock all this money.
Mm.
So
That's
like
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, like with the superhuman, maybe they were like, oh, you don't need your personal assistant anymore, rather than it's an email client. You know what I mean? Like you can do the job that you hire your personal assistant and organizing your email. Now you can do it with a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. I don't know what the pitch exactly is, but maybe that's the market that they were, getting, not necessarily, mail.
Yeah, no, I guess it shows like how important is the way you write your copy on like landing pages,
Mhm.
on the way you put your social media posts out there. It's like it's really important. Like
Right.
even just like the slight change of words or the phrasing of things can
Mhm.
almost like psychologically like alter like the way you perceive or form a connection with XYZ products. And it's pretty interesting because like at this startup I worked at back last summer, I think one of the one big, challenges or like the big things that we're trying to figure out is like who's our ICP, like our ideal customer profile,
Mhm.
and how can we position like the way we, like place our products in a way that, taps on like this, for example, like a pain point or like a certain type of problem that we want to solve. And it's actually like I didn't realize it was actually that important to, position your way in like the right way. And there's obviously a lot of experimentation. You gotta continue talking to
Yeah, but it,
users. You
it
gotta
starts with the money. If you get the money
right.
part wrong, that whole other
Yeah.
exercise after that, you're kind of screwed. Because if you're like, oh, well, the
Mm.
ICP is, like for example, with the superhuman example, right? The
Yeah.
ICP are nerds who like email,
Mm.
right? Because why not? It has all these nice keyboard shortcuts, whatever. You've missed the money angle completely.
Mm.
But if you know that, hey, there's some executives who have uh, personal assistants, you
Mhm.
know, who are paying money for these personal assistants, and that
Yeah.
is the market that we want to capture. And how do we make their life easy? Now your product strategy and your product roadmap is informed in a,
Yeah.
in, in a
Mhm.
very good direction or targeted direction. And in the beginning,
Right.
you don't like a lot of times in the beginning, you have a good idea, you really don't know where the money is. And building a good product and showing it to as many people as possible kind of informs who the target is, right? You, you
Mm.
you won't know without just showing it to a lot of people that you might think or whatever, and then whoever pays money, you're like, why did you pay money?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
why did
finding
you
that
pay?
pattern, right?
Yeah, why did you pay me
Yeah.
money and not someone else? Well, we paid you money because and now your intelligence goes up and you move
Yeah.
in that direction. It's very detective like behavior, especially when the idea is not obviously
Mm.
a winner. When you want to think in this like iterative mentality, this is the way of the iterative founder, I guess, or iterative startup.
Yeah.
Uh, that might be the title of my my book. Sounds like a good title because I've been talking
You're
about
banging,
this.
it's banging title, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been talking the iterative startup. Yeah, because I've been talking about this for years now. Like just
Mm.
because a lot of people think virality and attention is what's gonna get them customers, and it's like it's not. You can get a million impressions if the positioning is wrong, if you don't have the value proposition correct, you're still not gonna convert.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, this is like the product market fit, like the journey to it. It's
Yeah,
really interesting because, dude, yeah, as you said, like a detective game. Like you're trying to have these different jigsaw puzzle pieces. It's like, oh, like it's almost like you're digging wells trying to find like strike oil or strike gold
mm,
in a calculated way, and you're just trying to experiment. It's like it's messy sometimes, the stumbling, but then it's like
yeah,
when you strike on something, it's like, oh, dude, let me try more of this. Keep on iterating on that, and just
exactly.
see where that leads to. Dude, it's such an interesting game. Like it's honestly
Yeah,
really really fun.
it's so fun, and especially when you have
Yeah,
kind of a blueprint to follow, you
yeah,
now because a lot of people get frustrated and give up. They're like, I don't know what's going. I don't know
mhm,
how to find this. Maybe this is a stupid idea, and it's like it's not a stupid idea. Like it's just
mhm,
you haven't found the purest expression of it that will r- reach that tipping point where like people are gonna pull it rather than you start just pushing it, right?
mm,
And having a blueprint to that tipping point, I think will make the game much more fun. Where it's like,
yeah,
it's not a guessing game; it's a feedback game. It's how can I get this experiment in the hands of so many people, and then listen to certain signals, and then use those. So it's, anyways.
yeah.
But
Engineering
hearing,
feedback loops, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, hearing
yeah.
all this crazy talk from me, like, what are your plans? Because like, how many more years do you have in college? Oh, this is your last year.
No, this is I am in my third year in college, so I have one more
Third
year,
year. You
and
have
I
one more year.
graduate next June of 2027.
Hell yeah. And
Yeah.
what are your like ideas in terms of career at this point?
Ooh, I think it's I think it's interesting because I think I find college to be somewhat divided into two phases where, first and second year freshman sophomore, you're like, oh, let me just experiment, let me
Mhm,
dilly daddle, let me try to
mhm,
increase my surface area to
mhm,
have as many opportunities to say yes to them and try all these different things. But I think once you hit like this maybe invisible inflection point where you're like, oh shoot, like graduation is coming up. It's not
mhm.
something that's really far off in the distance, but more of something that's is quite, in the near immediate future. So you do start to put quite some thought into it. Where I think it all boils down to these big questions of where do you want to live, like what city, what geographical region in the world, what type of work do you want to do,
Mhm.
and I think the third one's kind of it shapes the first two. It's what type of people you want to surround yourself with, and who do you want to actually like build a life with. Whether that's like your coworkers, your friends. So I've been really deep into thought on
Well, let
how
me tell
like
you, let me throw you a
yeah
fourth question that I found. I speak very, chopped off. Like I think a lot between words, which I'm trying to get rid of that
yeah
habit. But
no you're good.
uh, let me give you a first question that
Mm,
might help you answer some of the questions that you asked, right? Which
yeah.
is the first question in my workshop. Usually, it's who are you serving, or who do you want to serve?
Mm,
Because that informs a lot too. Like if you want to serve
right.
uh Olympians, you'll find the city with the highest density of Olympians, right? If you want to
Hmm.
serve bodybuilders, you'll go to gold, what's his name, but West Side Barber. Like or you'll find these places, if you want to serve tech people, obviously San Francisco, right?
Mhm.
If you want to, so who's your audience or your ideal audience, or who do you want to serve? Because that is also a very important question to think about, especially when you're thinking about service and business and all of that.
Mm. Yeah, dude, that's such a big question, man. Wow. It's like I think people have tweeted like, oh, this is all about who are you serving, who are you helping, and it's been a question that just goes through my mind. But I think now that you've brought it up, it's something that I definitely should take more into deep
Mhm,
consideration because that's I think I was listening to the episode between David Senra and Patrick O'Shaughnessy, and
uh-huh.
David was asking me like, what's like the meaning of life for you? And then he was like, dude, it's all about helping people. Like at the end of the day, it's like all I want to do is just be a channel of service to the people
Mhm,
that I want to serve. And for him, it's like probably like, people starting companies and he just wants to be like a supplier, whether that's like through capital or through like,
mhm.
help with like introducing someone to X, Y, and Z, right? So yeah, this is something I've been thinking a bit more because one thing I realized is like business is all about your relationships with other people.
Yes.
Like I honestly don't think you can build a meaningful venture stuck in your room 24/7 without communicating with anyone. Like I just don't think that's how business works. I
It's
think it's
such a
all
lucky
yeah,
anomaly that it's written about a lot. That's the problem with that, is that,
yeah.
you hear the Minecraft guy, right? Or, even the Minecraft guy probably built relationships, right?
Mm.
Uh, or Stardew Valley, that guy, he just,
Oh, like not sure Minecraft.
yeah, just 5 years building this beautiful game, and then he launched it, and all of a sudden he got success from Steam and all of that, and it's like, those are very rare cases, and that's why they make the story headlines, is because it's like,
Mm.
wow, imagine that. But you're right, the easy path to success that has been proven time and time again is relationships, 100%. That's
Yeah.
why thinking
Yes.
about who you want to serve, because that's going to be arguably your most important relationships, is the ones with your customers.
Right. Yes. So going back to plans, of course, like I think I don't really believe in plans nowadays because I think it's more like following your values and just trying to live by that every day and seeing where that leads to. But for me, at least on the artistic front, I want to keep doing that. Continue creating the music of my life, the films of my life, go on all these crazy voyages. I'll keep that purely like artistic, completely separate with the business side. I think that's the plan for the artistic side.
I love
And if
that.
that blows,
That as
yeah,
as just an exploration. Hey, let me just do this and see what happens.
yeah,
But I do want to. I need to tell you this.
mhm,
Having a crystal clear target sometimes is not about the target. It's
mm,
about informing your day-to-day actions. So
mm,
if you say, I want to be the, like, for me, right? I'm building
mhm,
Caravan Notes, and it is a notes app. It is a AI chat app, right? And there's like agentic stuff in it, and it's in the field of software design. And my goal to have the best notes app, the best chat app, the best uh like agentic system for my needs, especially, uh, and to be one of the best UX UI designers in the world. Even if I don't achieve those,
mm,
having those targets gives me urgency, gives me a
mm.
sense of meaning. When I'm reading, I'm pulling, like, like I'm reading like the new program for graphic design, right? When
Hey,
I'm
sick, yeah.
when I'm reading this, I'm not just like, oh, let me just learn about graphic design. Like, what is in here that's gonna make me the best
Mm,
at the things I'm pursuing? You know what I mean? And
mm,
how can I get more books? Is there a hidden book that has the secret? And it just creates this frenzy and insanity that it makes you want to, find the answer. So sure, having a certain freedom in your artistic pursuit is beautiful in theory, but having a crystal clear goal, fires up the engine and the urgency, and you do more in a day. You sleep more fulfilled in the night,
Mm,
because you're like going and you're like, you did this, you went and jammed, like you're now in Singapore. It's like, who can I go jam with? I want to collaborate with the best artist in the world. Like if that's one of your targets, you
mm,
find the jam spot, you find whatever the hey, is there like an instrument in Singapore that they just play in Singapore, and you go figure that out and try to play that, and so having these targets, even if they're not professional,
mm.
informs your day-to-day action. So I highly recommend you finding some good goals that excite the hell out of you. Then
Yeah.
you can ride out and be like, let's go.
Yeah, I think it's also to do with like maybe not the goal itself. The goal it's like more of like the mode of just keep on wanting to do the things you want to do. It's like
It's the
I think the
direction.
reward
It's
the
yeah,
reward from
it's the
work
compass.
work is great work, right?
Yeah, it's the compass.
Yeah,
The goal is just, hey, north, like just go in that direction.
yeah,
And now
exactly.
you can
Yeah.
you can go full speed instead of just like meandering, and you don't make any progress. It's just saying, okay, that's the goal. Let me just go in that direction and enjoy the journey.
Mm. Yeah, I guess more specifically, it's like I think for me, art is a combination of three things. It's the voyages I go around in the world, the films I create, the stories I tell, and then the music behind it all. And for me,
Yeah.
it's like combining all of these three at once, where the more places I travel to, the more inspiration I get, the more artistic ideas I get. That
Mhm.
informs the music I create and the stories
Exactly.
I tell. So
Love
for
it.
me, it's like the mode is like I want to continue going around the world to these
Beautiful.
different places to tell these stories in a musical way. So
Yeah, meeting people and like, well, yeah, just like having
yeah,
them written down, like this is my goal and it can change.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's not like here, like I have these, like, every like notebook, right? Like I start
Hey, sick. Yeah.
every notebook I started with just my goals, and I like this Otani method, like the baseball guy, and he basically has one goal and
Mhm.
then nine different ways of supporting the goal, and then within
Mm,
those nine different supporting ways, daily actions that he can do for those nine ways. So it's kind of
mm. Yeah.
makes it very real instead of this like very. So yeah, and it changes. Like, and I don't stick to the nine. For me, it's eight things was good, and I don't need nine per
Mm.
thing, but it's a changing thing. Like goal setting is a changing thing, but not having goals, making it more wishy-washy, is kills the urgency part,
Right. You know,
and
I like that diagram because maybe if your priorities change, you can spend
mhm,
a bit more time on maybe two out of the eight pillars, or
mhm,
maybe you switch over like to like the
exactly,
three pillars over here. So it's like
exactly,
having different like means of getting to that same general North Star.
mhm,
It doesn't make you tunnel vision on that one set way, you know. But you'll still
exactly.
reach there in just a different way, but you'll still reach there in that
Yeah,
success. Yeah.
exactly. It gives you a little variation, a little, like, oh, interesting. Yeah, well, this is
Yeah.
important, and it's yeah,
It
absolutely.
adds spice to the game, right?
It's a good method. I like the method, but who cares?
Yeah.
Like, no one. This is the thing you realize very clearly after college is there
Mm,
is no grade. There is no grade to
mm,
life. There is no judge. Like you've lived a life where you've been judged so hard because you've been in competitions, and you're in college right now, so every course you take, there's a graded there, right? But in life, it's infinite grade. It's
yeah.
there is no A. There's like A plus to the power of infinity. Like it can go
Mm,
there, and it can be F, minus to the power of infinity. Like there
mm,
is no best
mm.
and worst you can do. It's uncapped,
Yeah,
both
like
sides.
negative infinity to infinity. Like the
Yeah,
range is boundless, you know?
yeah, and
Yeah.
and and there's no right answer, and
Mm,
you're the only one who knows the right answer in life. Like you
mm,
just trust yourself. Am I doing am I sleeping at night happy and exhausted?
Yeah.
Not exhausted in a negative way, just like everything I could have done that mm, I can die, at the end of the night happy.
Mhm.
Have I done that or not? And that's no one can judge that except you, and
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be based on hustle and whatever. It can be, did I enjoy every moment today? As
Yeah.
simple as that. You know what I mean? Like, was
Mhm.
I grateful at every moment today? Was I present in every moment today? And that's enough
Mm.
for me, at least. Maybe for Michael Jordan, he's like, you're a lazy piece of shit. You know what I mean? But
David Goggins or
yeah, or
yeah.
whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
cool, bro. I'm happy for you. Like, if that's what you need to be great, I love that, and I pull from it. Right? It's you design your
Mhm.
own life. So,
Yeah.
like, going back to that question, like, so you're thinking, okay, in your career, you're gonna pursue art as one path, and then professionally, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. Few dots, few dots. Uh, I mean, worked in startups the past year. I think one thing that I most admire about startups, it's honestly just like having a vision for how you want the world to be, like some sort of ideal, and trying to manifest that into reality just through like business as a vehicle. And for me, like I'm super intrigued by that. And for me, it's like going back to the question that you brought up. It's like, what's like the deepest problem that you want to solve? Like, how do you want to serve the
Mhm.
world? How do you want to serve the people? And for me, like right now, given I'm 20, I still have a lot, like so much to learn. Like I feel like I'm
Absolutely.
just at stage one right now. I want to do something where I'm simultaneously learning from, mentors who have built things that I really admire to a deep level
Like what?
while building something.
What do you admire deeper?
Yeah. So right now, or I guess to provide context, like I worked with the co-founder of Morning Brew, like Alex Lieberman, and he's a really big business media guy, always about newsletters. And now he's like recently in like AI, like AI enterprise, like
Mhm.
helping companies adopt AI into their business operations. And for me, like for example, I respect his like the way he tells stories, the way he articulates his vision, the way he articulates like his stories to a morning brew to investors, to the customers. So I take that piece from him from the
Yeah.
time I've worked with him. And now I'm very interested and I'm deeply like obsessed with people who create things that are timeless, that are
Mhm.
craft centric and really like canonical. And just a few days ago, I publicly pitched a second time to work with Colossus, run by Patrick O'Shaughnessy.
Hell yeah.
And it's also like a business magazine where they would create really, really in-depth, high-quality business profiles of investors and founders around the country and the world that either Patrick interviewed or people who have really interesting stories, like the founder of Alpha School, which is like a very interesting like alternate education system
Mhm.
for based in Austin, Texas, or
Hell yeah.
Kevin Kelly, like the founder of Wired magazine, who lived a really interesting life, doing all these different things.
Yeah, his book
So
is
right
great.
now, dude, I
His
love his
his
book.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
so media is kind of what's drawing you because of the curiosity, like because they're profiling so many different people and you get to learn from all of that and you get to exercise your curiosity. Is that what it is?
yeah, I think it's really just learning, understanding, digesting the stories of people who've lived really meaningful lives that was really true and aligned with them. And I think these are the people that I'm like most interested in. And recently, like I hosted my first, quote unquote founders dinner in Singapore.
Mhm.
And one thing that I've just been realizing, like at least in the past few months, which is pretty recent, is I'm really obsessed with learning and connecting with people who creates meaningful things, meaningful lives, meaningful ventures, whether that's like with a business that you start that has been going on for, a decade, or movies, you create movies that you believe that can last through your lifetime. Like the common through line is like, are you creating a life and are you creating work that is important to who you are as a person and that is truly reflective of what makes you feel the most alive? And I find myself most drawn to that. And it's really interesting because I always found myself to be an incredibly shy person, especially throughout high school and even the first, first 1, 2 years of college, where it's like it's so hard for me to strike up a conversation with a stranger, to ask them questions, to like
Mhm.
talk about my life. But I find myself recently just drawn more and more to these type of human beings, and I just find them to be just so enthralling, and which is why I really am drawn to like companies like Colossus and to these dinners and to these like intellectual salons, because I really believe that understanding these stories, like it makes me feel like alive in a really beautiful way. So I just
Love
want to
that.
keep doing more of that. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So uh, it's so beautiful because it kind of lines up so far.
Mm,
Like, your almost artistic passion to express your own life, I guess, your
yeah.
own story in a meaningful way to you, right?
Mm,
And that draws you intellectually as well, like curiosity. Like it's not
mm.
separate, is what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
it's
say. Like
kind of
the
connected. Yeah.
it is connected because your curiosity for how others have expressed their own identity in a meaningful way
Mm,
draws you. You're like, oh my god, Kevin Kelly, media guy, Wired magazine, all this, wrote a book, beautiful. Alex Lieberman, he has you know, Morning Brew and is doing profiles and all of that. Colossus, he's almost Patrick O'Shaughnessy is investing in people, right, like
right.
that, right? So he
Yeah.
invests in like David Senra, who's also curious about how
Totally.
the greatest founders have built a meaningful life and a meaningful business and a meaningful brand. So it is all in alignment. Like I don't see the separation.
Mhm.
Uh,
It's like a
and
mirror, right? You know, it's like what you see. It's like what you see in others. It's almost like kind of the reflection you see of yourself. You know.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's 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 great when it works out like that, and
Yeah.
it's who are you serving, I guess, you know, maybe other curious people like yourself, right? Like
Mm,
would that be a fair assessment when you want to think about who are you serving? I'm serving the curious, ambitious, I guess, truth seekers or people who are seeking more meaning in their life.
mm. And okay, one interesting idea I've been wrestling with is: have you heard of the 18th century European Grand Tour by any chance?
No, please tell me about it. What
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. So back in like 17th, 18th century Europe,
Uh-huh.
UK was a very industrializing, developing nation, and these young aristocrats from these really wealthy families would send their children off to tour the different parts of Europe, like Rome, Venice, Paris, like all
Mhm,
these like intellectual, cultural capitals of the Western world at that time.
mhm,
And from these travels, they'll document what they've learned, what they've experienced. Things from the people that they've met, the patrons,
mhm,
the music that they've encountered, the literary text, like
mhm,
everything, just like a cultural immersion. It's almost like a study abroad that I'm doing
mhm.
right now for the second time.
Yeah.
And they would bring all these ideas, these lessons, these learnings back to their home country of the UK, and they would inform like the government officials on how to run their country better. I was like, oh, this is what Rome is doing. Why don't we try a bit of this and apply it into our own home country? And that's kind of the spirit of Grand Tour. It's almost like an intellectual and cultural immersion. And I'm so fascinated by it because like back then, of course, it was only reserved for the wealthy class. Like if you were
Mhm,
maybe like a merchant or like a farmer, you basically had no access to these great voyages. And you know, it's almost like I'm living the modern day Grand Tour where I'm traveling to all these different places, living there for half a year at a time, and trying to understand deeply the culture, the way people live their lives. Like even from these dinners I've done in Singapore, I think the big question I always try to answer is like, what is it like doing business in Singapore? It's like how is it different than the
mhm,
US? What sort of social constructs do you navigate around? how is it like setting up business there? So for me, it's like my whole life right now has been trying to how can I revive the intellectual spirits of a historical grand tour, but put it in the modern day context where now it's like easier than ever to travel around different parts of the world to connect with these people just through the internet, through like Twitter, through LinkedIn, or whatever platform you use. And how can I bring that out as a manifestation of my life and eventually turn this into some sort of like vehicle where I can serve people who want to have this, cultural, intellectual, like artistic immersion that I'm experiencing right now in the form like of a business or something.
That last part needs clarification, right?
Mm,
Because with the Grand Tour example you just explained, the end customer was the government, right? Was,
right.
hey, government, like, look what I found in
Mhm.
Rome. This is how they did things differently, and with your piece, you're missing that piece, and that's when kind of my ramblings in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, I can definitely go
Uh,
more specific, but
yeah,
yeah.
but it helps because even if you don't end up uh, delivering these insights to a government body, for example,
Yeah.
you knowing that you're gonna go to the Ministry of Commerce or whatever to deliver a report, right? Now the way you engage is more meaningful because you're gonna be like, oh well, they're gonna want to know about this, and that, and let me look deeper and dig deeper into that and find out the reasons, and now it makes the whole experience a little more meaningful. So having that end customer in mind, right? Like for me with Caravan Notes,
Yeah.
right? Like I can say, oh well, I'm just building this software for myself. I wanted the best for myself, and now that's arbitrary, right? But when I
Mm,
say the best, I mean the best in the market. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I want to give it to especially founders, especially independent thinkers, especially solopreneurs, especially people
Mm,
who don't depend on a big team. That is who I'm serving because
yeah.
that is kind of who I am. And I've seen a lot of people like that, consultants, all they have all of this curiosity in note taking. They care about curating
Mm,
context for AI. They don't care about what it's trained on. They're gonna be more like, no, but this is the research that I've picked, and these are the passages that I like in the book, and let's
mhm.
have a conversation about that rather than the whole book or the whatever. So I'm building for that use case, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and I want it to be the best for
Mm,
them in terms of capturing that entire market or the majority of that market. It's a small market, but I do want to have the most popular software there. So you having a final customer for your insights of your modern day grand tour,
yeah. I mean,
is
of course.
is
Yeah.
we can brainstorm together. Like, you don't have to have the answers to these things. These are just more brainstorming questions, right?
Yeah.
There's no right answer to any
Mm,
of these questions. This is like what I do is help people think. Like the show is called Big Thinking. It's not called Big Answers.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
No, I love that. I love that.
so yeah. So who are you serving? Like when you think about that, like who's the net, who who benefits the most, who needs this, who's looking for this, and
Mm,
we can go step by step, right? Because there is different kinds of ways you can think about customers,
mm,
right? There is the mass market. Who's the mass market? And then there's the connoisseur, right? The taste makers, the trend makers, who
mm,
who they are. And then there's extreme users that if you solve for them, you solve for everybody else. Like for example, like Oxo Good Groups is a
mm,
is a kitchen utensil company, right?
mhm,
And the founder's wife had arthritis. So
mhm,
he designed kitchen utensils that are arthritis friendly,
mhm,
but everybody wants to use comfortable kitchen utensil. You know what I mean? So he
Yeah.
solved for the extreme, and it kind of hit everybody else. Uh,
Mm.
and with like the tastemakers, Nike's the perfect example. Like they solve for the super athletes that
Like
demand,
Jordan. Yeah.
like yeah, like Jordan, like the Serena Williams, whatever.
Yeah.
They design the stuff for them, tastemakers, and because everybody wants to be like Mike, right? They're gonna buy the whatever. So, and then there's the mass market kind of like
Mm.
uh home goods. Is it no Home Depot kind of
Home
strategy
Depot,
where
Lowe's.
it's
Yeah.
like Lowe's, exactly, like, hey, it come down, everybody cheap prices, but it's packaged for this kind of mass market. Uh
Mhm.
so thinking about that, like, who do you think would appreciate this more, like the tastemakers, the extremes, and if it is the tastemakers, who are these tastemakers? What are some thoughts that running through your mind right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first, it's not maybe not for the government. I think that's more of like the spirit of the old historical one. But
That's the
I think
extreme
right.
example. Like if you do solve for that, you do solve for a lot of things, right? Because you're thinking in this lens
Yeah,
of
yeah, true, true.
public benefit and all of that, and
Mhm.
it is an extreme example, and it's a good audience, right?
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's kind of comes into several phases. So the very basic phase right now, it's more like it's more like experimenting with who are the people that resonate most with this philosophy, and it starts with just very basic dinners. So I just started hosting
Mm,
like 8 to 10 maybe founders or creatives, like anyone that's I mean on the internet that's interesting and based in that geographical location. And it's like, okay, let's just hang out for dinner. Let me try to understand who are the people that's I want to bring on. And you over time, I think if you do like a few dozen of them, you're going to get more experience with hosting and getting to understand who are the people you actually want to bring on for like the later phases. And I think one idea that's kind of in the umbrella that I've been thinking about is have you heard of lectures on tap by any chance?
Lectures on tap?
Yes, yes.
No, what is that?
Yeah, so it's a US based thing, and in all these major cities like New York City, Los Angeles, SF, they would host like 2 hour lectures from professors, founders, or
Mhm.
anyone interesting that has like a cool story or topic to tell about. And at a bar or a venue, they'll bring over around like 20 to 40 people. We just sit at the bar,
Mhm.
order drinks, order food, and they would hear the speaker talk about a particular thing for an hour or two, and they'll have a chance to ask questions, connect afterward. And that was really cool because I think one, it provides alternate education for adults because I think sometimes when we finish school, like that's the end of our formal education, where it's like, okay, no more school, we stop learning, we don't read books, we don't attend any lectures.
Mhm.
But this is almost like bringing the spirit of learning back, but in a context that's more suited for adults who are looking for that intellectual nourishment, right? And I think too, of course, I think tapping into how important like IRL events are, I think nothing can really replace.
You're getting sidetracked. Let me bring you back to the nature of the question, right?
Yeah,
Let's
of
say
course,
you
yes.
you go out in the next 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And you meet 5,000 interesting people.
Mm,
Okay, 5,000 interesting people in 500 locations or whatever,
yeah.
and you have a little profile on every person and how it inspired you, and you have a little profile, on different areas of these geographical
Mm,
locations, and you have this all compiled in a book or something, or in
yeah.
videos in whatever format, that is entertaining.
Mm.
Who will be the highest bidder for that information? Who wants to buy that information? Who is buying information like that currently?
Like to understand the different people that I've.
Yeah, interesting. Like
Yeah.
your criteria
Mhm.
of interesting people, founders, maybe virtuosos in art or whatever, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go and you're immersed in them, and you have maybe like a little 20-minute video on how they do their thing, and if you have that assets, all of 'em, who would pay
Mhm.
money for it
Oh, I think
currently?
one that comes to mind, like maybe like investors who are looking to invest in
Okay,
like new
investors.
ideas,
There we go.
invest in ideas, people, or
Hell yeah,
like new
investors.
ways of thinking about the world, or change the world in some particular aspects.
Okay, investors. Investors
Yeah,
is a good audience.
yeah.
Who else? Who else would pay money for that?
I mean, people who also are walking down interesting paths as well, who want to connect with these type of people, that type of network.
So
Maybe
like
like,
community,
um,
like people who want
well,
to buy into a community, or
yeah. I mean, it's like when you profile so many people, like it's you naturally have like a world that you kind of build of your own with other people in it. So buying access to that community
yeah. So
of
people who want to who want to belong to a community or buy into a community, paid
yeah,
community customers.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Who else would want to buy this kind of information?
Mm. Let's see, investors, got community. Um, or I guess like people who want to build companies, who want to hire these people, maybe like to be part of their team. We're
Okay,
looking for A
recruiters.
plus, yeah, like recruiters for like A plus talents, A
Okay,
players.
amazing.
Um,
Recruiters. Who else?
right, so investors, recruiters, community. Let's see. Mm, maybe for like people looking for sponsorships
Amazing.
or
But you see now how
yeah.
you're becoming a capitalist as as this interview is going. But this is
Yeah.
how you can think about what you're doing and then saying, okay, how can
Yeah.
I optimize for these areas, whichever you
Mm,
choose, right?
yeah.
Like if it is investors, it's like, okay, what? Let me start learning about investors. There's an amazing book about especially venture capital and how it started. Uh, and tells you about risk and like how the strategies and whatever. I think it's Malaby. Let me see. Is it Malaby?
Mm.
Yeah, the Power Law. Boom.
Oh, it is.
Amazing
Yeah.
book.
Uh,
Amazing book about venture capital and its history and its progression.
dope.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you can read the Power Law. You can then read maybe private equity. You can read whatever,
Mhm.
and you understand what these people are looking for, and then you kind of optimize the content for it. Like, okay, well, the investors are going to be looking at risk profiles. They're going to be looking at whatever. So,
Mhm.
how do I find the risk in people's lives,
Mhm.
and be more skeptical and be more whatever and get these pieces of information so I can
Mhm.
talk to investors and package and see and you know, so, so the end customer and thinking about it and who's going to pay is going to help you bring out more in your journey, right? Um,
Mm. Got you. Got you.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love it, bro. Like I like that how you're thinking about this, like the your curiosity, following this curiosity of interesting people and what makes them interesting, and how can they become recruiter friendly, investor friendly, right? How can I help, how can I bring them all together in a community, how can all of this is
Mm.
just ammo for you to work with, and deploy
Yeah.
in
It's like
in
different touchstones that you can like take different
yeah,
pieces of, and
and the
yeah.
difference and the gap between them is agency and action. That's it. Like
Mm.
you can do all of that. You can have, whatever the thousand prospects of 2026 investor report and sell it to investors.
Yeah. Like
You know,
I guess like going back to the grand tour, because like I think my idea was like, what if I bring the whole lectures of untapped concepts to cities in Asia? Because I think there's a pretty big untapped markets with like intellectual salons. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about
But yeah,
of doing.
that is part of a paid community. Like
Yeah.
having a community and then going on tour
Mhm.
and all of that and organizing people and all of that.
Yeah.
That is the community aspect of.
Mm.
And it's how do you systemize it? How do you make it fun? How do you energize it?
Mhm.
Another get together. If you haven't read that book,
It's
amazing book.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing book on communities. I think it's this one.
You gotta check it out. And it's sick.
It's such a good book on communities. So you know, you read get
Yeah.
together a couple of times. You have like a little design. You have a little whatever. You're like, you know, you're in a fantastic community. You know, the pit. Uh, and you know, you're like, what made the pit good, and how do I become selective in curating my community to make it interesting, to make it feel like you know a badge of honor rather than you know just anybody who pays can get in. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think yeah, because I think for me it's like a very high level vision of what I want this potentially to be. Like in one direction is, there's all these different nodes, like cities, like around the world. Like think like New York City, think like Tokyo, think like London. And then you would take these, executives, these investors, these founders who want like a cultural, intellectual immersion in this city for like maybe like a week. And every day for the whole week, you'd attend like workshops and be like the CEO of like this big company in Tokyo. And then maybe like the other day, I learned from like a sushi chef who's like excels at their crafts.
yeah,
And like
and
going like
you
almost like
don't
an
have
immersion
to.
of sorts. Yeah.
It's good to have the dream,
Yeah.
but then it's also good to say, what is the piece that I can do right now? So like the
Yeah,
dinner
for
you
sure.
had with Maxime or whatever, you know, you
Yeah.
could have brought in a professor from Singapore University or whatever
Yeah.
to attend the thing and have a small talk about, I don't know, the history of Singapore and how it started, you know,
Mm.
with their entrepreneurial program or something like, you know what I mean? Like you could
Yeah. Yeah.
organize these things and test them out
Mhm.
because, like, you know, we discussed business is a game of experiments. It's not a
Mm.
game of knowledge. Like you can have this giant dream of, wouldn't it be great to have an intellectual saloon type community where you go
Yeah.
and it's like, are you falling back into the trap of who's paying for this kind of stuff? Nobody. The governments
Mhm.
are paying for them in terms of you know student loans and you know and scholarships and whatever. So who's really paying for this kind of stuff? You know, and what are really people paying for? And like grounding yourself back to that, and then
Mm.
saying, how can I go test a hypothesis real quick? You know,
Yeah.
in my next meetup, right?
Mhm.
You know, maybe
Mm.
you ask some people, hey, you know, what would be cool, you know, for you guys, and I'll try to make it happen. And
Yeah.
you use your agency to, you know, go and talk to people and whatever. So it's a matter of experimentation and a matter of grounding in actual money flows, you know,
Yeah.
because what
That's so important, man. Yeah.
especially you
Yeah.
need to be honest as well from your perspective, because wouldn't
Mm.
it be great and will people pay for it? You're not paying for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you need to always be grounded. Like, who's paying for what,
Mm.
and how do I appeal to the
Yeah.
guy paying the money, not to the
Mm.
recipients. You know, like a lot of like most students, college students in the world are not paying for that experience. I guess like
Mhm.
95%, it's not their choice to pay for college.
Mhm. It's
You
like you go
know,
to college, right? Yeah.
yeah, you go to college. The
Yeah.
parents pay for it, the government pays for it, the student loan
Mhm.
pays for it. There's shame involved. It is not a, you know, people don't want to be taught things. Like education has a very small market. The people who read
Mhm.
after college, the people who study after college, those are the people that are actual, you know, members of the market. They're customers of education. You know,
Mhm.
like me and you, like you know, if Founders tomorrow was like $5, no ads, I'm paying that, or $10, no ads, I'm paying that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I hate those motherfucking ads.
No, it's true
Every
that, man.
time it's like, but you know, it's great, right? I'm like, no, it's not. Let's just move on. I want to hear about Enzo
No, yeah,
Ferrari. I can give a fuck
yeah.
about Ryan.
Oh, dude, I think, no, I think like from our conversation, like one thing that's just stuck with me is like the common through line. Like, dude, you gotta make sure you ground whatever business you do with the cash flow, with where the money flows. Like that's so like it's like you can have the most idealistic dream of your idea. You can go out there into the world, but then it's like if you're not grounded like the market on like who you're actually serving and whether they'll pay for it, like dude, and it's just a dream, you know. It's not
Yeah,
really like
it's an imagine. Yeah, it's an imagination.
yeah,
It's not that real.
yeah,
And having that nose for your employer is also will take you very far.
mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like being that money hound for your employer, saying, "Oh, here's where the money is, and here's how we can get the money." You'll be indispensable. You know.
mhm, yeah. It's like you know, it's like a dual perspective. It's like having that very practical, grounded energy you bring to business, but at the same time having like both like the vision. It's like you can't only have the vision, but without the groundedness to it. Like you have to have both
Yeah,
simultaneously.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
and the third leg to that stool is the
Hmm.
experimentation. Is we
Mm.
don't know. This
Yeah.
is my theory. Let's test it out.
Yeah.
And the faster you test it out, the more real knowledge you'll have. And you can say, "Hey, we tested it out in Singapore, but it might work in China. We tested
Yeah.
it out here, but it might work there." Like it's
Hmm.
like health foods. You come to Florida to try to sell health foods, you're gonna go bankrupt. But if you go to California and Encinitas or boom, and the health food store is printing money. So
Hmm.
you have to understand the conditions of your experiment very well
Hmm.
to make the right conclusions, and then you just have to experiment, like grounded in real money, dreaming big, and
Hmm.
then making
Experimentation.
experimentation
Yeah.
your knowledge engine, your real, like how you
Mhm.
get feedback.
The iterative feedback loop. Like
Hmm.
just keep on doing it over and over
Exactly.
until you strike something.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Dude, yeah,
uh,
I feel like I've learned so much from the past hour. That was awesome, man. I really
oh
appreciate
yeah,
your thoughts.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's my pleasure, bro. And whenever you kind of pick a path that you want to just commit to it for 10 years or whatever, we'll do this again, and we'll go through like more business strategy and whatever. But for now, I think this is enough for you to just think about
Yeah, dude.
these things, and like come up with some creative target that is gonna change, but is gonna create a lot of momentum and acceleration.
Mm. No, man, dude, it's gonna be like big. Like once I graduate, it's like full send,
Mhm.
man. It's like
I
now you
love it.
don't have school like to think about it in
Yeah.
like, because I think it's like when you're in school, you can do all these different things outside the classroom, but at the end of the day, you still have homework, you still have grades that matter, you still have
Yes.
tests. Like you can't fully brush it aside, but I think once you graduate, dude, it's like if you found that mode you want to keep operating and iterating on, dude,
Yes.
it's like just go full send, man.
Yeah, it's amazing, and you're going about it the right way, like thinking about
Mm.
mentors and being in a career that gives you a salary while you're learning, while you're
That's the
curious.
best thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're collaborating with amazing people. That's the part I think a lot of people fail at, is they pick careers that just give a salary, but the 9 to 5 existence collaborating with these kind of gaslighty corporate types, and they
Yeah.
they have to bend their personality and their ego and whatever to kind of deal with these horrible, miserable, toxic people, and they
Mm.
come back home at the end just like broken down, and they're like, "Give me a cheeseburger," you know, put on Netflix, and then we go to sleep.
Yeah.
Whereas you're thinking about it in the right way. You're like, hell yeah, I want to work with Alex, I want to work with Patrick, I want to work with these people, and
Mm.
I'm gonna find beat the money hound for them, basically. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you know what, Patrick? You have all these opportunities around your market that you're kind of serving, and I want to pursue some opportunities for you in exchange for some time collaborating with your awesome team and yourself, like, and that pitch, no one says no to money. Let's put it this way. If you're
Yeah.
if you're if you're a good collaborator, if you bring out the best in people and you know
Mm,
where the money is, you can get in anywhere,
mm,
and it's just a matter of proving that. Like, hey, look, I've hosted all these dinners and they all love me, and I've
yeah.
created this paid community that's this much money. I know where the money's at. I know how to organize. I know how to whatever, and it's you'll be unstoppable. Like everybody will
Yeah.
want to
Yeah, and also
work.
I think the big part about, as you grow up, it's like almost like unlearning the scripts you were taught about money. Because I
Yeah.
think back then it's like, oh, you can only make money from working a corporate job. Like
Uh-huh.
each time all these like presupposed scripts that just keep running. And it's like as you grow up, you have to like, really take that into account. It's like, oh, actually wrestle with that belief. It's like, oh, is that really true? And really
Yeah.
just try to reason that from first
Another
principles.
book recommendation.
Yeah.
I think it's Ken Honda, Happy Money.
And on the
Yeah, Happy
Japanese art.
Happy Money, Ken Honda. Let's
Yeah.
go. This is the book that walks you through what you're talking about. It
Dude, that
it
man's like providing all the book recs. I love to see it.
yeah, Happy Money, such a good book.
Yeah.
I need it on my bookshelf, now that because every time I recommend a book, I know, like, I need it on my bookshelf. Because I read in Kindle, I don't like I've never like design books, I have them because
Mm.
you can't do this on Kindle. You like
Right, right.
you can't see the layout of this on the Kindle. With the new color Kindle, I hope I can get through that because a lot of design books suck, and then I'm stuck with the book, and I'm like, damn it, what am I doing with this stupid book?
Yeah.
But yeah, Happy Money, Ken Honda, bro. It'll walk you through
So
this
yeah.
deprogramming you from all your past
Yeah, totally, totally.
negative money beliefs, and it
Yeah.
will replace them all with good ones. So
Yeah, dude. I'm waiting for you to add the third row of bookshelves behind you.
yeah, yeah, I'm building one right now. The
Oh
bottom, yeah,
shit. No way.
yeah. Oh, wait. I think this is because my
Oh, your camera's like
yeah,
one
yeah, it
frame.
has a
No,
stabilizer
no,
thing. It's Insta 360. It's really good though. But yeah,
yeah.
here we go. Yeah. Uh, uh,
Damn,
uh,
man.
yeah, here we go. So
Let's
we
go.
got we got more books coming here and here.
Solid, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I
The
need
ultimate.
it's gonna fill up. I like the goal is to fill it up, but like I just need to do this more often where, like, when I recommend a book I don't have, I buy. What else did I recommend to? Oh, I recommend the Power Law too, right?
Yeah, Power Law, Ken Honda, get together.
Yeah,
I'll
Get
definitely
Together.
check
I got
that,
that
man.
one. Yeah,
I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes.
you'll love them. All three
Mm.
books, like, especially because you like investors, you like VC money and all that.
Yeah.
Uh, the Power Law is very good, and Ken Honda, Happy Money, also amazing. Uh, yeah, all of these books are. That's what's amazing about life, bro. Is you realize anything you want to learn, anything you want to be inspired by, there is a book. So
Dude, it's right there, man. It's gonna take for it.
there's a book, and you'll enjoy reading it and the whole thing. Anyways, bro,
Dude,
love catching up with you. If you need anything, you know where to find me.
appreciate the chat, man.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the chat and where your mind is at right now? Anything I did wrong? Maybe I know I cut you off a little too much.
No, dude, it's good.
But
I appreciate the question, man. I think
yeah.
it's like, I gotta think through sometimes,
Uh-huh. All right. Love, bro.
For sure, for sure.